Elena Vasquez walked into the massive crystal dome that served as the Galactic Council chamber. Her boots clicked against the smooth floor as she looked up at the 47 different alien species sitting in their seats above her. Some had scales that changed colors. Others had 4 arms or 6 eyes. A few glowed with soft light from their skin. She had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now. In that time, she learned that most of these aliens thought humans were nothing special. They saw Earth as a small, weak planet that got lucky when they figured out how to travel faster than light. The leader of the council was called Council Prime Zethkar. He was from a race called the Vorthans. They looked like giant people made of living crystal. When he stood up, his 4 arms moved like he was conducting music. His voice came through the translation device that let everyone understand each other. The human delegation will explain what they are doing in their home system, Zethkar said. His tone was cold and angry. Our long-range sensors have found energy readings we have never seen before. This is not allowed under galactic law. Elena stood straight and calm. She knew this day would come. For the past 5 years, humanity had been working on something that would change everything. The other species in the galaxy thought they knew all there was to know about science and war. They were wrong. Behind Elena, a hologram appeared showing pictures of Earth's solar system. It showed the new ships floating near Mars and Jupiter. The ships looked different from anything the galaxy had seen before. They were dark and angular, like someone had cut pieces out of space itself. We have been building defensive ships, Elena said simply. A creature that looked like a giant insect with wings buzzed angrily. Defensive? Those readings show power levels that could destroy planets. Elena nodded. They could, but that is not what they are for. The chamber filled with angry voices in dozens of languages. The translation system worked hard to keep up. Elena waited for them to calm down. Ambassador Silthara from the Keth Mori spoke next. Her people looked like tall, thin humans, but with skin that shimmered like oil on water. They had 4 vocal cords, and when they talked, it sounded like singing. Humans have been in space for less than 50 years. You cannot have technology that we do not understand. We have been exploring the galaxy for thousands of years. That is exactly why we can do things you cannot, Elena replied. The chamber went quiet. This was not the answer they expected. Elena continued. Every species here has been using the same science for centuries. You all learned from each other. You all think the same way about physics and energy. Humans learned science on their own, cut off from the galaxy. We think differently. A massive creature that looked like a walking tree creaked as it spoke. Different thinking does not create impossible technology. It does when you are trying to work with dark matter, Elena said. The silence that followed was complete. Dark matter was the mystery that had puzzled galactic science for thousands of years. Every race had tried to understand it. Every race had failed. Dark matter was everywhere in the universe, but no one could touch it or use it. It was like trying to grab shadow. Zethkar's crystal body flashed red, which Elena knew meant anger. You claim to have mastered dark matter? This is impossible. Our greatest minds have tried for millennia. Elena smiled. Your greatest minds tried to force it to obey. Humans learned to work with it instead. She pressed a button and the hologram changed. Now it showed technical drawings and mathematical formulas. To most of the aliens in the room it looked like nonsense, but a few of the scientist species leaned forward with interest. Dark matter does not like being pushed around, Elena explained, but it will dance if you know the right music. Human scientists discovered that dark matter responds to specific gravitational frequencies. We do not grab it. We sing to it. A small, fuzzy creature that looked like a ball of fur with huge eyes squeaked in surprise. The humans have created gravitational harmonics. We theorized this might be possible, but the energy requirements would be enormous. Not if you use dark matter itself as the energy source, Elena said. Once you start the dance, dark matter provides its own power. It wants to move. It just needed someone to show it how. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some aliens were excited. Others were angry. Many were scared. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted and everyone knew it. Zethkar raised all 4 arms for silence. These claims must be proven. You will submit your ships for inspection by our science teams. Elena's smile became sharper. No. The word hung in the air like a challenge. In the 3 decades since humans joined the galactic community, no one had ever refused a direct order from the council. The technology is too dangerous to share right now, Elena continued. but we are willing to demonstrate what our ships can do. Would the council like to see? You refuse a council order? Zethkar's voice carried disbelief and rage. We refuse to hand over weapons that could destroy the galaxy if they fell into the wrong hands. Elena replied calmly, but we invite the council fleet to come to the edge of our solar system. We will show you what human engineering can accomplish. The chamber exploded into angry voices again. Several species were already talking about sanctions and military action. Elena let them argue. She knew that curiosity would win in the end. The galaxy's most powerful species could not resist seeing new technology, especially technology they thought was impossible. Finally, Admiral Korath of the Delian Empire spoke up. The Delians were the galaxy's top military power. They had never lost a war. The Delian fleet will attend this demonstration. We will bring our best ships and sensors. If this is some human trick, we will discover it. Other military leaders nodded agreement. Soon, representatives from dozens of species were volunteering their fleets for the demonstration. Elena counted at least 200 ships being offered. It was more firepower than had ever been gathered in one place. Excellent, Elena said. Please gather at the edge of our solar system in 3 days. We will show you what happens when humans stop playing by the old rules. As Elena left the chamber, she could hear the excited and worried conversations continuing behind her. She activated her personal communicator and sent a message back to Earth. Admiral Chen, this is Ambassador Vasquez. The Council took the bait. They are bringing everything they have to our demonstration. Are the ships ready? The reply came quickly from Admiral Chen Wei, commander of humanity's new fleet. All 12 dark matter ships are operational. The Prometheus is ready to show the galaxy what human science can do. Elena smiled as she walked back to her ship. For years, the galactic community had treated humanity like children playing with toys. They were about to learn that human children could be very dangerous when they grew up. The message had been sent across the galaxy on all official channels. In 3 days, the most powerful fleets in known space would gather to witness what they thought would be humanity's embarrassing failure. Instead, they were about to see the birth of a new galactic superpower. Elena looked forward to seeing their faces when they realized that the young, primitive humans had just changed the rules of the game forever. 3 days later, the edge of the Sol system looked like the biggest military parade in galactic history. 200 warships from 47 different species floated in perfect formation. Each ship represented thousands of years of advanced technology and military experience. Admiral Chen Wei stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, looking at the massive fleet through his viewing screen. His ship looked tiny compared to some of the alien vessels. The Delian Empire had brought their flagship, a massive ship that was 20 kilometers long and looked like a flying city. The Vorthans had sent crystal ships that sparkled like diamonds in space. The Kethmori vessels moved like living things, flowing and changing shape as they flew. Impressive, said Lieutenant Torres from her position at the sensor station. There is enough firepower out there to crack a moon in half. Chen nodded. Good thing we are not planning to fight them. The Prometheus was different from every other ship in the fleet. Where alien ships were smooth and elegant, the human vessel looked rough and industrial. It had sharp angles and exposed metal beams. Parts of the hull seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. The ship looked like it had been built in a factory rather than grown in a laboratory. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the Council fleet, reported Communications Officer Park. Put it on screen. The image of Council Prime Zethkar appeared on the main viewer. Behind him, Chen could see other alien leaders gathered on the Vorthan flagship. They all looked confident and slightly amused, like adults watching children play with toy soldiers. Admiral Chen, Zethkar said, we are ready for your demonstration. Our science teams are recording everything. We hope you will not embarrass yourself too badly. Chen smiled politely. Thank you for coming, Council Prime. I think you will find today very educational. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. All stations prepare for dark matter field activation. Send the signal to the other ships. Around the Prometheus, 11 other human vessels moved into position. They were smaller than their flagship but built with the same angular industrial design. To the watching alien fleets, they looked primitive and crude. Dark matter generators online, reported Chief Engineer Martinez. All ships report ready status. Begin Phase 1, Chen ordered. The change was subtle at first. The space around the human ships seemed to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Then the stars visible behind the ships began to bend and twist as gravity itself was reshaped. On the alien ships, sensor alarms began going off. The readings made no sense. Gravity was increasing and decreasing in patterns that should have been impossible. Space itself was being folded and stretched like rubber. "What are they doing?" Admiral Korath demanded from the bridge of the Delian flagship. His tactical officer, a reptilian creature with golden scales, was staring at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, they are generating controlled gravitational fields, but the power readings are off our charts. No known technology can produce this much gravitational force without creating a black hole." On the Keth Mori vessel, Ambassador Silthara watched with fascination as her ship's sensors tried to understand what they were seeing. "They are not fighting against dark matter," she whispered to her science officer. "They are working with it. The humans have learned to make dark matter dance." Chen watched the readings on his own screens with satisfaction. Everything was working perfectly. "Phase 2, he ordered. The human ships began to move. But they did not use engines or thrusters like normal vessels. Instead, they bent space around themselves, creating gravitational slopes that they could slide down like invisible hills. The ships moved faster and faster, but according to physics, they were not actually accelerating. They were simply moving through space that was being reshaped around them. To the alien observers, it looked like magic. The human ships seemed to teleport from one position to another, appearing and disappearing as they moved through folded space. They danced around the massive alien fleet like hummingbirds around elephants. "Impossible," breathed Admiral Korath. "They are moving faster than light without actually achieving faster than light speed. They are cheating physics." On his ship, Chen was enjoying the shocked silence from the alien fleet. "Open a channel to all ships," he ordered. The transmission went out on all frequencies. Chen's face appeared on screens throughout the gathered fleet. "Honored representatives," he began. "What you are seeing is the result of human research into dark matter manipulation. We have learned that the universe has rules, but it also has loopholes." He gestured to the tactical display behind him, which showed the human ships moving in impossible patterns around the alien fleet. Every species in the galaxy has spent thousands of years trying to understand dark matter by studying it. Humans decided to try talking to it instead. The communication channel filled with voices as alien commanders tried to ask questions all at once. Chen waited for them to quiet down. "How?" The single word came from Silthara, transmitted on the emergency frequency. "We discovered that dark matter responds to gravitational music," Chen explained. "Every particle of dark matter in the universe is connected to every other particle through quantum entanglement. When you create the right gravitational pattern, you can make dark matter sing, and when it sings, it dances." He pressed a button and the human ships suddenly stopped moving. They hung in space perfectly still, but the space around them continued to ripple and flow like water. "We do not control dark matter," Chen continued. "We partner with it. We ask it to help us, and it agrees because cooperation creates harmony. Force creates discord." The alien fleet was silent. For the first time in galactic history, a younger species had demonstrated technology that the older races could not understand or duplicate. "This is just the beginning," Chen said. "We wanted to show you our new capabilities before we demonstrate our weapon systems. What you have seen so far is our propulsion and defense technology. Now we will show you what happens when humans get creative with cosmic forces." Admiral Korath felt a chill run down his spine. If this was just their movement technology, what did their weapons look like? Chen's smile was friendly, but his eyes were serious. "We recommend that all ships move to a safe distance. We are about to demonstrate why humanity no longer needs protection from galactic threats." The alien fleet began to spread out, moving away from the human ships. But as they retreated, many of the alien commanders wondered if there was any distance that would be safe from weapons that could reshape space itself. Chen watched them go and activated his internal communication system. "All ships prepare for weapons demonstration. Target is Charon, Pluto's largest moon. We will show them precision first, then power." Around him, his crew worked quietly and efficiently. They had trained for this moment for years. Today, humanity would announce to the galaxy that the rules had changed. The young species from Earth was no longer asking for a seat at the table. They were building their own table, and everyone else was invited to join them as equals. Admiral Chen Wei looked at the alien fleet spread out across space before him. They had pulled back to what they thought was a safe distance. But he knew that safety was an illusion when dealing with weapons that could bend reality itself. All ships report weapon systems online, Lieutenant Torres announced from her station. Dark matter resonance fields are stable across the fleet. Chen nodded. Open a channel to the Council fleet. His image appeared on screens throughout the massive alien armada. Behind him, the tactical display showed a three-dimensional map of the solar system. With a small dot marking Charon, Pluto's largest moon, billions of kilometers away. Honored observers, Chen began. We will now demonstrate the precision capabilities of human dark matter weapons. Our target is the moon Charon, located in the outer system. Please focus your sensors on that location. On the Delian flagship, Admiral Korath turned to his science officer. How far is that target? 6 billion kilometers from here, sir. At the edge of sensor range for most of our instruments. Korath frowned. What kind of weapon can reach that far accurately? He was about to find out. Chen looked at his weapons officer, Commander Sarah Kim. She had spent 5 years learning to work with the dark matter targeting systems. Unlike traditional weapons that fired projectiles or energy beams, the human weapons worked by convincing dark matter to rearrange itself in specific patterns. Target locked, Kim reported. Dark matter density in the target area is optimal. We have a clear resonance path. Fire, Chen ordered. What happened next would be talked about in galactic military academies for centuries. The Prometheus did not shoot a beam or launch a missile. Instead, the ship seemed to fold in on itself for a moment, creating a ripple in space that spread outward in all directions. The ripple moved faster than light, but it was not really moving at all. It was a change in the fundamental structure of space-time itself, propagating through the dark matter network that connected every point in the universe. When the ripple reached Charon, the moon simply vanished. One moment it was there, a gray ball of ice and rock orbiting Pluto. The next moment, there was nothing but empty space where it had been. The silence on the communication channels was absolute. Every alien sensor in the fleet was focused on the spot where Charon had been, but their instruments found nothing. No debris, no energy signature, no trace that the moon had ever existed. Impossible, whispered Admiral Korath. You cannot simply delete matter from existence. Chen's voice came through the speakers calmly. We did not delete it. We relocated it to a parallel dimension of space-time. The moon still exists, just not in our current reality. On the Kethmori vessel, Silthara was frantically working with her science team to understand what they had witnessed. The gravitational effects are gone, she reported to her crew. The moon is not hidden or cloaked. It has been completely removed from our dimensional space. Chen continued his explanation. Human weapons work by creating controlled microsingularities using dark matter manipulation. We can open doorways between dimensions and move objects through them. The process is completely reversible. To prove his point, Chen nodded to Commander Kim again. Return the target. Another ripple spread through space and Charon reappeared exactly where it had been before, completely unchanged. The alien sensors confirmed that the moon was perfectly intact, with no sign that it had been anywhere else. The demonstration continued. One by one, the human ships showed what they could do. They made asteroids disappear and reappear in different locations. They created gravity wells that could trap enemy ships without destroying them. They opened rifts in space that allowed them to move instantly from one part of the system to another. But the most impressive demonstration came when all 12 human ships worked together. They surrounded a large asteroid and began to sing to the dark matter around it. The asteroid began to glow as space-time itself was reshaped around it. Observe, Chen said to the watching aliens. We can also accelerate time in localized areas. The asteroid began to age rapidly. Millions of years passed in seconds as cosmic radiation and stellar wind wore it down to nothing. Then the humans reversed the process and the asteroid reformed, growing backward through time until it was exactly as it had been before. We can make objects move through time as well as space, Chen explained. We can age an enemy ship until it falls apart, or reverse its timeline until it becomes the raw materials it was built from. The alien fleet was in chaos. Military commanders were shouting orders to their science teams, demanding explanations for technology that seemed to violate every known law of physics. Political leaders were frantically sending messages back to their home governments, warning them that the balance of galactic power had just shifted dramatically. On the Vorton flagship, Council Prime Zethkar stood with his forearms trembling. His crystal body was flashing colors that indicated extreme distress. "This is beyond anything we imagined possible," he said to his advisors. "If humans can manipulate time itself, they could undo entire civilizations." Chen heard the panic in the alien communications and decided it was time to offer reassurance. "Honored representatives, please understand that these weapons are purely defensive. We have no interest in conquering other worlds or imposing human rule on the galaxy. We developed this technology to protect ourselves and our allies." His voice carried the weight of absolute sincerity. "Humanity learned long ago that the strongest person in the room does not have to prove it by beating up everyone else. True strength comes from protecting those who cannot protect themselves." Admiral Korath found his voice first. "What do you want from us?" Chen smiled. "Respect. Partnership. An end to the assumption that older means wiser or that established means superior. We want to work with the galactic community as equals, not as junior members who should be grateful for your tolerance." The communication channels were quiet as the alien leaders considered this. For thousands of years, galactic politics had been dominated by the oldest and most established civilizations. The newer species were expected to learn from their elders and follow their lead. Now a species that had been in space for less than 50 years was offering to reshape that entire system. "We have shared the theoretical basis of our technology with your scientists," Chen continued. "Not the complete technical specifications, but enough for you to understand that this is real science, not fantasy or deception. Some of your brightest minds will be able to duplicate parts of what we have shown you, given time and resources." He paused, letting that sink in. "But we hope they will choose to work with us instead of trying to copy us. Cooperation creates better results than competition." As the alien fleet slowly regrouped and began the journey back to their home systems, the galaxy prepared for a new age. The humans had proven that innovation could triumph over tradition, and that a fresh perspective could solve problems that had puzzled civilization for millennia. The age of human influence had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The journey back to the Galactic Council chambers took 2 weeks. During that time, every ship in the alien fleet was buzzing with activity as scientists, military officers, and political leaders tried to understand what they had witnessed. On the Delian flagship, Admiral Korath had not slept properly since the demonstration. He kept staring at the sensor recordings, watching Karen disappear and reappear over and over again. His tactical computer had run the simulation thousands of times, but it could not explain how the humans had done it. "Sir," his science officer reported, "we have completed our analysis of the human weapon signatures. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases. They appear to be creating stable micro-wormholes using dark matter as a focusing medium." Korath rubbed his tired eyes. "Can we duplicate it?" "Not with current technology. We would need to completely rebuild our understanding of physics from the ground up. It could take centuries." Meanwhile, on the Kethmori vessel, Ambassador Silthara was having better luck understanding the human technology. Her people had always been more interested in theoretical science than practical applications. They could see the elegant mathematics behind the human approach. "It is beautiful," she said to her research team. "The humans found a way to make mathematics sing. They turned equations into music and convinced the universe to dance along." Her chief scientist, a tall being with silver skin that changed color with his emotions, showed her the latest calculations. "We could build a primitive version of their gravity manipulator within a year. But it would be massive and inefficient compared to what the humans have achieved." Silthara nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is the point. They are not trying to hide their methods from us. They are showing us that cooperation works better than competition." The Vorthan Council Prime was having a much harder time accepting the new reality. His people had ruled the galactic community for over 2,000 years through superior technology and military might. The idea that a young species could surpass them was almost impossible to accept. "There must be some flaw in their technology," he insisted to his advisors. "No species develops weapons that powerful without destroying themselves first." His military commander, a crystal being whose body glowed red with frustration, disagreed. "Respectfully, Council Prime, we observed their weapons for hours. They showed perfect control and precision. If anything, their technology is safer than ours because it is completely reversible." When the fleet finally arrived back at the galactic capital, word of the demonstration had already spread throughout known space. The humans had sent their own recordings of the event to every major news network and scientific institution in the galaxy. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Stock markets crashed as investors realized that military technology had just become obsolete overnight. Scientific institutes canceled decades of research projects that were now pointless. Political alliances that had existed for centuries suddenly seemed fragile and uncertain. But the most significant reaction came from the Galactic Council itself. For the first time in recorded history, the Council called an emergency session where the agenda had only one item: humanity. Elena Vasquez returned to the Crystal Dome chamber. But this time the atmosphere was completely different. Where before there had been condescension and amusement, now there was respectful attention and barely concealed fear. She walked to the center of the chamber and waited for the session to begin. The 47 species represented here controlled the fate of trillions of beings across thousands of worlds. Today, they would decide how to respond to humanity's emergence as a galactic superpower. Council Prime Zethkar stood and activated the translation matrix. His crystal body was dim, indicating deep thought and concern. Ambassador Vasquez, the Council has reviewed the demonstration provided by your military forces. We must discuss the implications of your new capabilities. Elena nodded politely. We are here to discuss any concerns the Council might have. Concerns? The question came from Ambassador Thyrak of the Mantis Collective, a species that looked like giant praying mantises with cybernetic implants. Your species has developed weapons that can erase matter from existence. Our concerns are numerous and significant. Elena remained calm. Our weapons are defensive in nature. We demonstrated precision and control. We also demonstrated that our effects are completely reversible. No permanent damage was done to anything. But the potential for damage is unlimited, insisted Admiral Korath, who was representing the Delian Empire in the absence of their political leaders. You could erase entire planets if you chose to. Yes, Elena agreed simply. Just as your antimatter weapons could sterilize entire star systems if you chose to use them that way. The capacity for destruction does not equal the intent to destroy. The chamber fell silent. This was not the response they had expected. Most species, when confronted about their weapons, would make excuses or try to minimize their capabilities. Elena was openly acknowledging that humanity now possessed the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. Silthera spoke next, her four-voiced harmony carrying notes of curiosity rather than fear. What does humanity want from the galactic community? Elena smiled. Partnership, mutual respect, an end to the assumption that newer species must always defer to older ones. We want to contribute our knowledge and capabilities to the common good of all civilizations. And if we refuse? Zethkar asked. Elena's smile did not change, but her eyes grew serious. Then we will protect ourselves and our allies, and we will continue to develop our technology independently. We prefer cooperation, but we do not require it. The implications were clear. Humanity was offering to share their revolutionary technology and work within the existing galactic framework. But they were also making it clear that they would not be forced to accept a subordinate position. A small, furry creature from the Whisker Coalition squeaked nervously. How do we know you will not use these weapons against us if we disagree with your policies? Elena turned to face the small alien directly. Because humanity's history shows that we are more dangerous to ourselves than to others. We spent centuries fighting wars among ourselves before we learned to work together. We understand the cost of violence and we choose cooperation whenever possible. She gestured to the holographic display behind her, which showed images of Earth's history. We have experience with weapons of mass destruction. We know how close we came to destroying our own planet. We developed strict controls and ethical guidelines for powerful technology because we learned what happens when such controls do not exist. The display showed the devastation of ancient nuclear wars, followed by images of humanity rebuilding and eventually reaching for the stars. We offer our technology to the galaxy because we believe cooperation creates better outcomes than competition. But we also understand that not everyone will agree with our philosophy. Council Prime Zethkar considered her words carefully. What specific terms do you propose? Elena activated her personal projector and began outlining humanity's proposal for a new galactic order. It was based on mutual defense agreements, shared scientific research, and equal representation regardless of how long a species had been part of the galactic community. As she spoke, the alien representatives realized that they were not just negotiating with a new military power. They were negotiating with a species that had thought carefully about how to use their newfound capabilities responsibly. The silence that followed Elena's presentation was not the silence of fear or confusion. It was the silence of recognition that the galaxy had changed forever, and that change might actually be for the better. 6 months after the demonstration at Sol, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. The seating had been rearranged so that no species sat higher than any other. The crystal dome had been modified to include new translation technology, developed through human Kethmori cooperation that allowed for more precise communication between species. Elena Vasquez sat at a circular table with representatives from 12 major galactic powers. She was no longer just Earth's ambassador. She had been elected as the first director of interspecies cooperation, a new position created to manage the changing relationships between civilizations. The changes had not come easily. 3 species had initially refused to accept humanity's new status and had tried to form their own alliance to counter human influence. That alliance had lasted exactly 2 weeks, until a pirate fleet attacked one of their colonies, and they realized they needed human dark matter ships to defend themselves effectively. The quarterly report shows remarkable progress, Elena said, looking at the holographic displays floating above the table. 17 new cooperative research projects, 8 successful dark matter applications in civilian technology, and a 30% reduction in interspecies conflicts. Admiral Korath, who now served as the military liaison for the reformed council, nodded approvingly. The joint patrol system is working better than expected. Having human ships partnered with traditional fleets has stopped piracy in 3 entire sectors. The joint patrols had been Elena's idea. Instead of human ships operating independently, they were paired with vessels from other species. The aliens provided local knowledge and diplomatic expertise, while the humans provided their advanced technology and unique tactical capabilities. Silthera, who now headed the Joint Science Committee, added her own report. The medical applications of dark matter manipulation have exceeded all projections. We have developed treatments for genetic disorders that were previously incurable. The Healing Gardens project on Kepler 442b is saving thousands of lives every month. The Healing Gardens were another example of human innovation combined with alien expertise. Human dark matter technology could accelerate cellular repair and regeneration, but it required the careful biological knowledge of species like the Kethmori to apply safely. Working together, they had created medical centers that seemed like miracles to the rest of the galaxy, but not all the changes had been smooth. Council Prime Zethkar, whose crystal body now showed streaks of silver indicating acceptance of change, spoke about the ongoing challenges. The economic disruptions continue, he reported. Entire industries based on old technology have become obsolete. We are seeing social unrest on 17 worlds as populations struggle to adapt to new realities. Elena nodded sympathetically. Change is never easy, especially change this rapid, but we have solutions to offer. She activated a new holographic display showing economic data from human-controlled space. Earth went through similar disruptions when we first developed industrial technology, then again when we created computers, and again when we achieved faster-than-light travel. Each time we learned that the key is education and opportunity. The human solution was characteristically practical. Instead of simply providing new technology, they offered comprehensive training programs and economic assistance to help displaced workers transition to new careers. They also shared their historical experience with technological change, providing roadmaps for how societies could adapt without losing their cultural identity. The Artisan Preservation Program has been particularly successful, added Dr. Sarah Kim, who had been promoted from weapons officer to head of cultural exchange after the demonstration. We are helping traditional craftspeople incorporate dark matter technology into their work, creating new art forms that combine ancient techniques with modern capabilities. On the planet Vega Prime, traditional crystal sculptors were now using controlled gravity fields to create impossible structures that seemed to float in midair. On the water world of Aquatica, artists were sculpting with living water that moved and flowed according to gravitational music. The results were spectacular and uniquely alien, proving that human technology could enhance rather than replace existing cultures. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the galaxy approached conflict resolution. The old system had relied on military threats and economic pressure to maintain peace. The new system, developed jointly by human psychologists and alien diplomats, focused on understanding and addressing the root causes of disagreements. The meditation stations are reporting remarkable success rates, reported Ambassador Thyrak of the Mantis Collective. His species had initially been among the most suspicious of humanity, but they had become enthusiastic supporters once they saw how human technology could enhance their own natural, telepathic abilities. The meditation stations were space-based facilities where representatives from conflicting species could meet in an environment enhanced by dark matter fields that promoted emotional calm and mental clarity. Disputes that might have led to wars were now being resolved through careful dialogue and mutual understanding. Elena looked around the table at the faces of beings who had once seen humanity as primitive newcomers. Now they were partners in building a better galaxy. We have accomplished a lot in 6 months, but we are just getting started. She activated one final holographic display, showing plans for the next phase of galactic cooperation. The Deep Space Exploration Initiative will begin next year. Joint crews from 20 species working together to explore beyond the edge of known space, using human propulsion technology combined with alien expertise in biology, geology, and xenoarchaeology. The Exploration Initiative represented everything the new galactic order stood for. Instead of individual species competing to claim new territories, they would work together to understand and protect whatever they found. Human ships could travel farther and faster than ever before, but they would carry the combined knowledge and wisdom of 47 different civilizations. Admiral Korath leaned forward with interest. "What do you expect to find out there?" Elena smiled. "We don't know, and that's what makes it exciting. But whatever we find, we will face it together." As the meeting concluded and the representatives returned to their ships, Elena remained in the chamber for a few moments, looking up at the crystal dome that enclosed them. 6 months ago, she had stood in the same room as the representative of a species that most aliens considered barely worth noticing. Now humanity was not just a member of the galactic community. They were helping to lead it into a new age of cooperation and discovery. The young species from Earth had proven that innovation and fresh thinking could solve problems that had puzzled civilization for millennia. But more importantly, they had proven that power used responsibly could bring out the best in everyone. The galaxy was no longer a collection of competing empires held together by fear and mutual suspicion. It was becoming a true community of civilizations working together toward common goals. Elena activated her personal communicator and sent a message back to Earth. "Mission accomplished. Mr. President, the galaxy is ready for the next chapter." The response came quickly from President Martinez, who had been following the negotiations closely. "Outstanding work, Ambassador. What happens next?" Elena looked out at the stars visible through the crystal dome, each one representing thousands of worlds filled with billions of intelligent beings. "Now we find out what this galaxy can accomplish when everyone works together. I think we are going to be amazed." As her ship departed the galactic capital and headed back toward Earth, Elena reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had come to the stars as explorers and discoverers. They had become protectors and teachers. Now they were partners in building something greater than any single species could achieve alone. The age of human isolation was over. The age of galactic cooperation had begun, and the universe would never be the same.